Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to take a look at the best Anbernic handhelds to buy in 2023, just to make your life easier, because it's really difficult to just scroll through their website and try and make an idea of what you want to purchase, so I'm going to help you with that. So let's just dive in, and here's the full list of Anbernic devices that we're going to be talking about today. First up, we have the Anbernic RG35XX and the 35XX Plus. Then we have the RG Arc and the D and S models. Then we have the 405M and the V model, RG Nano, RG353V, M and P models, as well as the VS and PS models. Then we have the 505, the 503, the RG351P, and the 280V. Now obviously Anbernic has a lot more devices than that, especially on their website. But the point of today is just to go by the ones that are actually still relevant in 2023, and just slot them into the right use cases just so you know which one you should purchase. Now I also don't want to confuse you, because that was a long list of models and it probably just looks like mumbo jumbo to you, especially if you're not in the hobby. So don't worry, I'll make it very easy for you and we'll try and go through everything in a nice easy way so you know what to buy. As for actually purchasing these devices, the best way you should do so is through Anbernic's website directly, and that's just Anbernic.com. They also have an AliExpress store, and that's the Anbernic official store, and I'll include links to both in the description. The third way, if you'd like, I have a third-party reseller called Lit NXT that I've been working with for a long time now, and they'd be another good option too if you wanted just a third option. Lastly, I'm going to leave links to any reviews and setup guides that I've done through any of these devices, and I'll put that in the description so you have everything right there. And so we can start off with the most powerful Anbernic devices, and that's the RG405M, RG405V, and the RG505. All three of these are running the exact same processor with the Unisoc T618, and they only have Android as an operating system. Although there is a custom firmware called Garlic OS 2.0, and that'll work in the future if you wanted to use Linux instead. But it's not something that I would buy these devices for right now. Just know that out of the box, you have Android. And so the top end for these devices and what they can play perfectly is going to be Nintendo 64 and Sega Dreamcast, and everything under. These are exactly what you'd want to buy for that purpose. PSP will also have pretty good compatibility, but it won't be the full catalog and you'll have to make some tweaks for some games. Now, all three can also go a bit further, and they can also play limited amounts of GameCube, Wii, PlayStation 2, and Switch catalog. The Switch isn't a buzzword. It's really only indies like Celeste, Baba Is You, and games like that. For the other platforms, it's going to be game dependent. With a lot of tweaks, you could get easy games like Mario Kart Double Dash working. But don't buy any of these three handhelds for those systems. Think of them as complete bonuses rather than features. Now, your next question is likely which of these three should you buy, especially since they all perform the same. I'm going to leave the 405V out, as it's a pretty easy decision there. Do you want a vertical handheld? Buy the 405V. So for those waffling between the 405M and 505, I want to say it's a pretty easy decision for most, but everyone has their own preferences. The 405M has a lot more community support, it's smaller, and it's one of the best devices that came out in 2023. The 505 has a nicer OLED 16:9 screen, and that's great for PSP compared to the 405M's 4:3 screen, but it's bigger than the 405M, it's cheaper, and it's in plastic compared to metal. I don't think you can go wrong with either decision, but if you want to know which one is the one most people pick, it's the 405M. So now that we know what the top end of Anbernic devices can do, we can start to move our way down to other platforms and other devices that can't reach those same levels, but maybe they do other systems just as good. And so just on that point, the next tier is handhelds that can play great for anything up to PlayStation 1. However, compared to the tier we just talked about, you'll lose some power for just fast forwarding and things like that. Otherwise, you'll be getting the exact same experience for PS1 and under as the tier we just talked about. Now, where they differ is this tier can't play the full libraries of Nintendo 64 or Dreamcast, and it has even worse support for PSP. You also don't even want to bother trying for GameCube, Wii, PS2, or Switch on any of these. So the devices here are the RG353 series, so the V, the M, and the P models, plus the VS and PS models, the RG503, the RG ARC, and I'm going to add the 35XX Plus here as well. Now, right off the bat, the RG ARC and 35XX Plus are the odd ones out, for only having D-pads and no analog sticks. That means for the small amount of Nintendo 64 games that do run on these, you just won't have a good time. But otherwise, for PS1 and under, you'll be fine. I think the RG ARC is in its own little niche case anyways, as you'd only really go that route if you wanted an awesome D-pad for fighting games or Genesis and otherwise just wanted a larger device than the others. The 35XX Plus is the weakest of these, and I wouldn't buy it for anything above PS1. However, it's the most compact out of all these options, and it makes for a great pick up and play device to bring with you on the go. Looking at the 503 next, and it's using an OLED screen, with a higher resolution which instantly sets it apart from the rest. However, performance-wise, it'll be the same as the RG353 series that we're about to talk about. I don't think the price particularly makes sense for this model compared to the others, so it'd be the one that I would avoid. However, if you really must have a better screen, this would be it. So we're left with the RG353 series and all of the models with it. The V, the M, and P models dual boot both Linux and Android, while the VS and PS models are Linux only. Right now, the M is metal only, and at its current price, it's not worth considering at all, despite the fact that it's pretty revered in the community. Too many better handhelds have come out since then, and the price hasn't really changed. So that leaves the other two, and it's a similar situation to what we saw with the T618. Do you want a vertical device? My recommendation is the VS instead of the V. You save some money, and with these devices, Android isn't exactly necessary, although you do have that option if you want to spend more for the V. I don't particularly think that the V or VS are worth the extra cost over the 35XX Plus, however, and would probably suggest you stick with that unless you absolutely want analog sticks. That sort of leaves the P and PS model now, and the PS is my personal favorite in this category for comfort and really everything. I still think the RG35XX Plus is a better value purchase, especially if you don't mind the vertical, but the PS would be my next go-to for anyone that wants a horizontal. Just remember that this entire tier is basically for anything up to PlayStation 1 perfectly. And then you have small amounts of the catalog of Nintendo 64, PSP, Dreamcast, and all of that, if you're willing to put in the time and tinker with it. So then what does that leave us with the rest of the devices? And these are devices that can get up to PlayStation 1, but not perfectly, so they're using hacks or other methods to get there. And this is sort of the niche category. So devices with niche use cases that still make sense in some way, but generally aren't really recommended for most cases. And so these devices are the 35XX, the RG Nano, the 351P, and the 280V. Starting off with the 35XX, and while yeah, it's still an awesome device, it's just hard to continue recommending, especially when the Plus exists now. At current prices, it's a $12 difference from the 35XX to the Plus version. And while I can't speak to everyone's financial situation, it's sort of a no-brainer to just get the Plus nowadays. The 35XX is great, but the Plus is just better. Then we have the RG Nano. And my personal thoughts aside, I think you grab this as a fun novelty. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, as I think that anybody who's interested in this has their reasons, but you're not going to be buying it for performance, for comfort, or anything like that. It's a novelty. And now we come up to one of my personal favorites, and that's the 351P. This one is a bit of a stretch coming into 2024. The saving grace for this device is its 3:2 aspect ratio, which as of right now is sort of the only one that's good and has that screen. This makes it the perfect Game Boy Advance device. However, at the current price of $87 US, it's most definitely not worth using the older chip, the lack of Wi-Fi, and all of that compared to just other options. I just wanted to mention it as it still does have a function if you can find it for cheap. And on that same note, and the last of our devices, we have the 280V. I have a special place in my heart for this one, as I think it makes a lot of sense, and especially more than the Nano does. It's still small, but it's actually usable, has a bigger screen, and all of that. If there was ever a novelty device for you to actually buy, it would be this. I love mine, and it's the same as the Nano, but at this current price, you'd only ever consider it over the others as a novelty purchase. You would ignore comfort and value and all of that. But this is just a fun handheld to buy if you already have a nice collection and just wanted something to just have fun with. That's going to be it for this one. Hope you liked the video, and if you did, let me know in the comments below because I'd like to do this again for other manufacturers. So depending on how well this video does, I might just make it a kind of series and just do the same for other manufacturers just to make your life easier in purchasing decisions. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow, and hope you all have a good one.